Are we live?
Connecting.
All right.
We are live in three, two, one.
Everybody, welcome to a very special Valentine's Day edition of the Cream live stream. And I wanted to give a shout out to all of the people celebrating Valentine's Day. But you know what? I want to give a special shout out today to all of the parents out there. Why? Because I don't know how we all do it. I got two babies at home. I was just telling RJ. I am fueled on coffee here, ladies and gentlemen. I go to bed about 11. I'm up at 1. I'm up at 3. I'm up at 5. And then I'm up. And then come time to get to the office, and I'm like dragging everybody. Coffee is key. And it's not even that the babies are up all these times at 1, 3, and 5 and whatnot. It's just that I'm conditioned now to wake up. Like I've woken up for the last 2 years, basically. I've been up and like at night. So now the babies are sleeping through the night, thank goodness, which is good. Man, we got to get this sleep track back on. But that is not stopping us from doing a lot of real estate deals. And that's what we are getting into. Today is a very exciting day because we're going to be talking about our story on how we got started. But first off, RJ, how you feeling today, man?
I I'm definitely the vibe is alive, but I'm also sleep deprived.
That's it, dude. That's the new
Not
rhyme here.
3 and 5, more so that 12 to 2 o'clock. That's we're on high alert. And if one kiddo wakes up who is out, he sometimes gets his older sister up and she's not feeling well. So I am sleep deprived too. But hey, I appreciate parents out there that are fighting a good fight. I
Let us
appreciate
know. Let us know in the comments if you can relate, if you have children, or if you have been in the shoes that we are currently in. Both RJ and I have babies at home, but that ain't stopping us from getting going here, everybody. And today we're talking about our stories and getting started. I got a lot of cool notes for you, and a lot of people don't know our story. I'm going to start out, tell you my story on how I got started in real estate. RJ is going to share his story on how we got started in real estate. And then collectively, we're going to share our story on how we started working together. So, if you did not know this, I'm actually from Cleveland, Ohio, born and raised. Was never a good student, was voted class clown out of my senior class. I just never took school seriously. It's not that I wasn't smart, I was just more of a social kid growing up. Baby of 4, hardworking parents. Both my parents were registered nurses. So after high school, college was not really in the cards for me. And that was the year 2000. And that was right around the years when the internet was just getting started. Do you remember AOL? Remember AOL chat rooms and stuff like that?
Yeah, I do.
I was a legend in AOL chat rooms, if you guys didn't know that. No, I'm just kidding. But I was chatting with somebody that I had graduated high school with. It was the year after high school. I wasn't doing anything, chatting with somebody I had graduated with, and they said, I moved to Arizona. You should move out here. I didn't even know where Arizona was, but I wasn't doing anything with my life. And this person, her name was Nina Cosiano, and Nina said, you could come work for my uncle. He owns a construction company. So I hightailed out of Ohio, nothing but a book bag on my back, went out to do construction in Arizona, and it was going pretty well. I was always a hard worker. I was carrying shingles on top of roofs. Shout out to all of our roofers and contractors out there. It's hard ass work, especially in the sun. And I thought that's what I was going to do with my life. Quite honestly, I thought I was going to be a construction worker or something like that. Then a very crazy story that I haven't told in quite a long time is I was at an outdoor shopping mall called the Arizona Biltmore. If you're familiar with Phoenix and the Biltmore, it's a pretty well known place. I'm just kind of actually hanging out at a little outdoor place, and I hear somebody say my name. They say, Dave. You know how it is. Anytime someone sees your name or it says your name, you pop up like a Pavlov's dogs, right? You just like, you know your name. So I'm looking, I'm like, who said my name? It is a girl that I sat next to, Aisha Barrett, her name was. And it was in a keyboarding class. And in high school, she was an exchange student from Arizona, just happened to run into her in Arizona. And she said, what are you doing? I told her I was doing construction. And she said, oh, I told her I'm looking for a night job. I wanted to work two jobs, construction during the day and do something at night. So she told me to go work at the telemarketing giant call center with MCI WorldCom, which is a giant old long distance company. So I went there to get a part-time job, and then I learned that I could sell. I learned that I was one of the top rookies in the whole region on the phone. So they put me on the phone, and pretty soon my part-time income at MCI surpassed all of my construction income, and I didn't need to do construction anymore. So I was just doing sales full time. I thought I was, I thought I found something great, and I did. I'm glad I learned that I could sell. And then I started going to bookstores because I wanted to improve my sales skills. And if you go to any bookstore, the sales department or the sales section is right by the entrepreneur section, right by the real estate section. So then I start seeing these books at this bookstore. It says How to Make Money in Real Estate. The very first real estate book I ever read was Retire Young and Retire Rich by Robert Kiyosaki. Even before Rich Dad Poor Dad, I've read that. That's what I wanted. I'm like, okay, I got a chip on my shoulder, kid from Cleveland, never had anything growing up. Hey, I'm doing this myself. I want to retire young, retire rich. So I started getting into real estate. I worked telemarketing for 4 years then and saved money, saved up $14,000. And then I started leaving my telemarketing job a couple nights a month to go to the RIA meetings. I would call off my telemarketing job certain nights so I can go to the RIA, the Real Estate Investor Association meetings. Arizona has a massive RIA. It's called As RIA. It was run by a guy named Alan Langston. And then there was another group that I was a part of called AZ Pig, led by Jerry Romine, who we still follow online. We're actually still friends on Facebook. And I started leaving my telemarketing job a couple nights a month, and I would always make these meetings. I learned about wholesaling, and then I learned about driving for dollars. So in 2005, I quit my job full time in the sales thing with $14,000 to my name, and I started doing marketing, and I started doing direct mail. Just got a list from a title company, Camelback Title. And basically I started doing mail and I started driving for dollars, and I blew through all the money. I got a lead on a property, and this was this guy named Robin. He's this really weird guy, and he was selling his mom's house, and the street was Fillmore in Arizona. It's kind of like in the rougher parts off Van Buren. That's where I made my bread. When I first got this thing started, I was in the hood, right? Driving for dollars, I needed to find boarded up houses. So I targeted my direct mail to the rough areas, and I used to drive for dollars around there. And I got a lead on a property on Fillmore, signed that up in contract. I was super nervous. I met at Jerry's restaurant, Jerry's Old Country Restaurant, and I was super nervous signing this contract with this guy. And then it turns out the house across the street was a FSBO, and I ended up getting that deal too. So I got two deals on Fillmore, and I wholesaled them. So I put them in contract, and I think I probably made like $10,000 on each deal. And that's all I needed to spark that belief in me. And from there, went out and started wholesaling, created a wholesaling machine. I was driving for dollars and finding deals. And the market was 2005, 2006, 2007. The market was insanely hot. I didn't understand anything about markets or hot market or cold market. I just knew I was making bank doing these wholesale deals. And I made $180,000 my first year driving for dollars and doing direct mail. And I took all that money, and just like anyone with zero financial literacy, and trying to be cool with a big ego, it was like a ticking time bomb. I bought a house I never should have bought with a loan I never should have borrowed. And I used all the cash to buy like cars. I had a Mustang and I had an Audi and I wanted all this fancy stuff. And then the market completely collapsed with the great financial crisis and I completely went bankrupt in 2008, basically. Then from there, I started waiting tables, anything that I had to do to kind of get back into the game and start making some cash again. And then I got the opportunity to work for a real estate education company. And I got the opportunity to move out to California from Arizona and start working for realestateinvestor.com. I don't know if they're still around or not. I think Gary Boomershine bought it from Colin Andrews Egbert and Matt Lights, but I worked for those guys with realestateinvestor.com because I had some experience with real estate and I just needed a sales job. And I started doing seminars with them and working the back of the room, if you will. And that is where I met RJ Pepino. So essentially, everybody, that's how I got my start, is just going to bookstores, going to RIA meetings, driving for dollars, doing direct mail, doing wholesaling, which we still suggest if you're just getting started in this business. Wholesaling is a great way to start because you learn the fundamentals without the risk, right? What are the fundamentals? You learn how to find deals, you learn how to negotiate deals, and you learn how to analyze deals, right? And put them in contract without the risk of taking on loans. And really, what imploded me was taking on a lot of bad debt. There's good debt and bad debt. I took bad debt for houses because they were doing all these subprime mortgages, and I was getting third mortgage. I was walking into Washington Mutual, that's not even in business anymore, and pulling out third mortgages, over levering every single house that I owned. And I thought that was I didn't know any different. And I was using all the debt that I was pulling out on these houses to buy cars. It's like the worst thing you possibly can do. I did it, completely went belly up. However, when I went bankrupt, every one of my private lenders, I was out there raising private money as well, and I still talk to. I need to call him. I haven't talked to him in a while, but Steve, you've met Steve before. My first original private lender. Every one of my private lenders got paid. I've never not paid a private lender, but I did go bankrupt on all these terrible mortgages that I had in my name. And I learned how to wholesale. And then after that, after I kind of licked my wounds and whatnot, I wanted to get into the rental property business. And I met this kid, RJ Pepino, who at a real estate seminar. And from there, we built a friendship. And I packed up from out west, moved to Ohio. And we're going to share our story on kind of what we started when we started working together. But first, RJ, that's pretty much my upbringing in the real estate game. And what about you? What about you when you first
Yeah,
got started in this thing?
we had some similar similarities in kind of the upbringing aspect. So, um, my parents worked, two jobs. We didn't have this like, lavish lifestyle growing up as kids. I remember living, I was born here in Ohio and then moved back to the Philippines. Um, my parents migrated here in the 70s with a special type of visa that allowed them to, um, you know, study here and be able to get their, degrees here at Ohio State. And so we lived in this community around Ohio State campus, not too far from campus, was University Arms. For the ones that are in our group from Columbus, Ohio, you guys know where that is. It's still around. Actually, um, drove past there a couple years ago, and it's still kind of the same. Bunch of apartments, um, but we had our start there. Started their family there, and I had, played tennis because my dad really liked tennis. That tennis skill allowed me and our whole family to actually get to college. So, but my story was I went to college in Youngstown State. I was good enough for that. And it wasn't that, because a lot of people think, well, you played tennis, you guys must have came from money. No, we made it work off, two jobs from both parents. It's like there was times where going to a tennis club, one of the most prestigious clubs in Ohio at the time was in Westerville. We couldn't always go there. So we would have to play outside in like 30 to 40-degree weather and really take advantage of all of that practice that, in Ohio that we can get. We worked our asses off. And I wasn't the best. I didn't really like see success in tennis until when I was like 15, 16 years old. I finally figured it out and started to get some wins and started to get noticed. And then, the team that we played in high school went to states. Um, Good team. And that allowed me to get kind of noticed by some of the colleges in Ohio. And I went to Youngstown State full ride. I was trying to go to Ohio State. This wasn't good enough. There's some other colleges that were looking and offering me some scholarships and this and that. And the other scholarship money that I would have to kind of bring to the table, I would have to work, and make up that gap. So Youngstown State is where I landed. Played there for about 5, 6 years. Played my best tennis there. And at the end of that, there was a decision. I had to make a decision. Would I go and try to make it in tennis? Well, for those that don't know, there's in tennis, before you start seeing people at the Grand Slam level, like the US Open or Australian Open or Wimbledon, there's this whole other journey there that starts off in what they call the like kind of like the minor leagues, but futures and then challengers, and then you get to the big tournaments. Well, all of that costs money. We didn't have that money. I didn't have that money. So, there was that decision I had to make. I'm like, well, I gotta, I like this like being on my own. I was in Youngstown. I've never been on my own before. And I was just like, I don't have money to go and make it and hack it out in the minor leagues. So what am I going to do? Well, I got to make money. And I saw that people were making some money there in sales jobs. And I'm like, I didn't have any sales experience. So I too went to my NCI at the time. They had a big, big call center in Niles, Ohio. And I worked there. And this is literally what I did. I'm like, well, I don't know how to sell, but who's the best in, my bay? We had these phone bays where there's a manager and there's like 20 callers. And I'm like, well, who's the best in this bay? The manager was like, that guy right there, who at the time, he was a younger guy, right? So at the time he was making, over 90K in that bay and selling long distance, right? This guy was just the slickest of all slicksters on phone. And I would sit there and I'm like, all right, how is this guy making this much money selling long distance? And I would listen to him and I would listen to him. I would listen to him. And then I would get on the phones and I would sell long distance, trying to get people from like 9 cents to like 5 cents. Crazy. And I did that, and I'm like, okay, I made some good money. It's the most money I've ever made in my life at MCI. I went to work one day, and back then I didn't really kind of know what was going on in like financial markets or anything like that or business. And I just see the sign of like, hey, MCI is shutting down, and watched people literally just go into work one day, see the sign, everyone's fucking crying, and they were all hanging out in the parking lot. We got to get walked out. And that was it. It was like people were like talking and crying and trying to figure out what their next move was. Um, and so my next move, because I didn't know any better, I'm like, oh, I got to find out another sales job. And it just so happened that in one of my classes, in one of my business classes, I made friends with a sales manager at Singular. You guys remember Singular, cell phone company, rolling over your minutes? I worked for that company. And same thing there. I would got hired. Luckily, I'm like, hey, let me give this thing a shot. I worked at MCI, and I'm going to be your best sales rep in your store. And he was like, love the attitude. I'll give you a chance. We'll start part-time. And I was part-time for a little bit. And I'm like, well, who's your best rep in the store? And this guy, his name's Ryan Kulik. Love Ryan. I hadn't talked to him in a long time, but I went to his I went to Youngstown. This was back in 2008 or nine or whatever. And I went to his wedding, but he was a super aggressive guy. He would greet everybody that came into the door, sell them on cell phones, and literally not even sell. He would just assumptively sell. So I learned how to assumptively sell people at Singular Wireless, which then got bought out to AT&T. Um, but I learned it was assumptive selling, but I also learned consultative selling, which is actually applicable to what we are doing today when we're solving people's house problems. But that was my like taste of money and success in the corporate world, whatever you want to call it. And so I'm like, all right, well, I'm making money now. How do we make more money? And you kind of look around and see who's making the most money. And at that point in time, I thought if I can climb this corporate ladder, right, and get away from being a rep to get into a manager position to get into corporate and corporate and move up. That's all I knew. That was all that I was exposed to. Um, and that was my mission at that, 2007 to 8 and 9. I was living in the rat race basically, trying to get promoted. Got denied my assistant manager job, finally got a manager job. Noticed that I wasn't making as much money in management job as I was in sales. And I was just frustrated, man. I was just like, this sucks. At that time, my whole life was going to work, um, work my ass off, then after work, work out, and then go out and black out basically and do that process over and over again.
For the
Um,
record, RJ and I no longer get blacked out. We are very serious about our business these days.
Crazy,
We
crazy.
went through those days. All right, let us know in the comments if you could relate to that. I mean, come on, we're all adults now. We got a couple of young bucks on here. I see Billy's on here and a couple other people. We are not getting blacked out anymore. The sooner you can stop doing that, the sooner you can actually start running a successful business. But yeah, ain't that the truth?
So, um, so I did that for many, many years, and then I was like trying to get from middle management to the corporate world, and I'm like, is this even what I want anymore? And I was just frustrated. I was um, looking at who made the most money in that company, and it was the CEO. I'm like, how do I even get to that level? How do I become the CEO? And I noticed that everyone was like in their damn well near their 60s, making some whatever money at six figures, 100K was like a thing for me back then, right? A year. And definitely wasn't making that in management. So I got a call from my brother, and it was that moment in time where like you just know that this was some big, big opportunity, and it was, but it wasn't like this like idea, grand scheme of ideas, because we would always kind of scheme on ideas. Wanted to start a restaurant, wanted to do this. I have some ideas that are already actually they're ideas back then, but they're in reality right now. That's another story for another day. But he's like, hey, you got to read this book. It's called Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm like, what? He's like, amazing book. All the secrets that rich parents, have and how they made their money is in this book. I'm like, okay, I'm reading this book. That book right there changed my whole mindset of, you know, who I, what like area of business I need to be in, or put it this way, like the framework of where I need to go from where I'm at right now as an employee to get into the other side of the quadrant, like the investor and business owner side, right? And obviously there's elements of real estate in that book. If you haven't read that book, go read it today. That book led me to a 3-day workshop. In that 3-day workshop, another guy on stage wearing some pink shirt saying he was making all this money in real estate. I don't even know if he ever did, but he was telling me he flipped a condo and made like close to $1 million on it. That guy inspired me, and that thought, and maybe most of you guys here are the same way, but that thought was, if that guy can do it, then I can do it. It took that little thought of me saying, hey, this guy can do it. And I hope you guys hear this story because, and it resonates with you. Like, Dave and I are not anything special. None of these gurus out there or influencers or real estate mentors or anybody, it's not, there's no one special. No one's special here, right? Like, there isn't some like magical door that, you open and you become successful and make millions in real estate. It's taking the specialized knowledge that we really share here and go and execute and implement. If you succeed, great. But if you fail, great, you know? So I'm like, okay, so if he can do it, I'm no one special, I can do it too. I just didn't have 30K to drop that day. And I'm not going to go and call my credit card company and try to increase my credit card limit. I'm not going to do that. So then I went online searching around for mentors. Now, while I was doing this, I also bought a house in 2007. And the original game plan was to flip it with a mentor. The mentor sold me the house. Supposedly this was a mentor. Well, all that actually blew up. That mentor just sold me a house that I couldn't do anything with. Overpriced house. Back in 08 and 09. You guys know what happened then. I'm sitting there in this house. I'm living with my brother at the time. And the whole plan was to flip it. I'm sitting there in this house and I'm just like, I don't know how to flip this house. I don't even know what I'm doing. I have this thick real estate guide that I got from the Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it doesn't technically show you how to, really manage or rehab and manage people in there, right? It gives you the some of the frameworks, but not all of it. I got in trouble in that house, and that was like the first stressful kind of like financial stress. It was a different kind of stress I've never felt before. That was one of the first times that I felt that. And I was looking online. I found another mentor actually. He's still around, by the way. You guys know Preston Ely. He's still around. He's not as big as he was once before. That was my first online mentor. And here's what I learned. I learned how to put out bandit signs, right? If you look up RJ buys houses cash, Columbus Dispatch, you will see an article because I put up so many freaking bandit signs in Columbus, Ohio, that there's probably still some signs and some side roads that are all blank now. But if you look closely enough, it says RJ buys houses cash. That he told me how to use bandit signs, how to talk to, basically not how to actually talk to sellers, it's just follow a script. How to underwrite a little bit. And I got started in real estate by buying a house it was a blunder. I wanted to flip it. But it led me to wholesaling. And it led me to find a better path because really my whole thing of getting into wholesaling was to try and save this house that is basically I had to give back. Right. But that first mentor learned how to, put houses in contract, but putting houses in contract doesn't really technically get you to the closing table, does it?
You can't deposit contracts into the bank account, RJ.
That is the truth. I like houses in contract, dude. I thought it was hot. And it was a time in the market where it's like street by street. When the market did what it did, and we're not talking about like, interest rates are high. We're talking about like the crash, the true crash, right? Where every street was its own comp. Every house had its own, like, I put these houses in contract and then everyone was telling me like, oh, I can't pay that much. You're out of your mind. And I would go back to my mentor at the time who, only responded through VAs. And I'm like, all right, man, what else you got? And he was like, well, I would try and partner with somebody at locally. I found a local mentor on YouTube. Back then, there was not that many people online on YouTube doing the wholesaling videos, and but he was. And he's an underground guy. I haven't talked to him in a bit, but I know he still has a lot of rentals. And I learned how to underwrite, especially in those times. And he had a bunch of relationships already because he was probably the most successful wholesaler in Columbus. He trained a lot of Columbus wholesalers that trained a bunch of other wholesalers. And we did our first deal, man. We did our first deal. We split. It was a duplex. I got it on a bandit sign. We sent it out to his list and sold it in like 48 hours. That was my first deal. I
Here's the
learned.
bottom line. You need a mentor if you're going to do this. I did very similar to you, RJ, that I left out of my story, but it's the same thing. When I was going to those RIA meetings, it was just a straight pitch fest. And I signed up for everything. Signed up for everything. Ron LeGrand, um, David Finkel was another one. All these guys, right? I was signing up for everything and constantly studying and this and that. Nothing beats an actual mentor, though. You were reading the books, you could buy the courses, this, that, and the other. There's always like information out there. A big, thick manual you're talking about from Rich Dad Poor Dad. You got to get a ideally a local mentor, but just a mentor who's in the game, not a mentor who just sends you to their virtual assistant who lives in the Philippines. Yes, RJ is Filipino, but he's not trying to flip houses in the Philippines. He needs an actual mentor who knows what they're doing in today's market. I say this because when RJ got his start, he didn't have anyone to turn to until he found like a real mentor. And that's what we do. We're not ashamed to say it. Our students are killing it right now. Everybody's getting leads. We're cashing checks, doing JV deals. This is what we're doing here. We get on the phone with our clients twice a week, going through leads, going through deals, helping them with their contracts. At 10:25, we got a private chat just for our clients. Somebody had a question about a contract. They said, do I have to get both husband and wife to sign the purchase contract? Do you not answer that? We do. The answer is no. Just get one of them to sign to open the escrow. Eventually, they're both going to need to sign the closing documentation and whatnot. But this is a student of ours. Real life communication. We're not like these VAs, right? So if you're serious about this business, we are very much in the business right now, owning rental properties and whatnot. But that's the thing, man. You got to work with somebody who actually is like in the game right now, not like you sign up for some program and then they just dish you off to their virtual assistants while they're nowhere to be found.
That was really the that led me to look for a new mentor. And I'm super grateful for what I learned from that guy because the marketing, the script, he was really big on probate and cool. Like that got me to a certain point. That next level of actually finishing the deal though was somebody locally that knew the market, right? Um, and what we also teach because we have students that are not in our market, but we're so dialed in on underwriting right now on how to find out if a deal is going to sell at a certain price point. This is just wholesaling, by the way. We're not even talking about rentals. Who our students are also buying rentals, just like how we do, using our PYF method, getting them in a contract, and then holding them on for long-term assets, doing a cash out refinance. One of them bought 17 properties in the first freaking week. We helped them out with the financing, added 1.8 million into to the bottom line, to their net worth. Anyways, so what I'm saying is that the biggest thing from when that local mentor helped me out is the underwriting. Guess what system that we use for underwriting? You'll be blown away.
When you were first getting started,
Now, we use
right
Zillow.
now,
We use Zillow. Why do we use Zillow? Because it's free. There's comparables in there. that makes sense depending on how you use it, because people, they everyone's put this bad thing on Zillow. We use Zillow. There's other resources that we also have mastered, like the prop streams out there. Everyone's got their own prop stream. But we can underwrite using Zillow, PropStream, MLS. It's all the same shit. But if you don't know the actual like interpretation of the data, you're gonna be in trouble. That's why we have the Monday calls, because the Monday calls go right into like, hey, bring your deal, let's underwrite it, let's make sure you can make money with it. We actually had a student recently that got her first deal. That's going to get ready to do their first deal, and we're going to JV with them. But they found their own buyer. They're making more, so we're like, yeah, go make more.
We'll make more. RJ, I just want to make the point. So, we heard your upbringing and mine as well. RJ and I then started working together. We formed our first entity in 2012. We've done it all, everybody. Flipping turnkey properties, wholesaling, fix and flips. But really, the most money we've ever made is the buy and hold business, is the BRRRR strategy, is buying them, raising private money. We have raised tens of millions of dollars with private lenders. Everybody, we've got this game down cold, finding off market deals, funding them with true private lenders, and then doing these big cash out refinances. We're getting ready. We got to wait for some things to kind of clear up before we can really get on the rooftop and start shouting about some of the deals we're doing behind the scenes here, everybody. Let me just tell you, there's some major deals going on. This is happening now. This isn't like, we're these old guys who started back in the day and we can talk the talk and, we got a Facebook group now. No, 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 no. We are in the game right now. Let's do a pop quiz on RJ here real quick. And I bet he knows. How much ink, today is the 14th of February for this month. We're about halfway through the month. How much inked revenue does our team have on the board right now? These are contracts with sellers and we have buyers for. What is the number, RJ? Do you know?
As I checked this morning, there may have been one that came in like during this call, but we're at 96.
I thought 91 was but it's one of the two, but it doesn't matter. Everybody, we're halfway. Listen, RJ and I, his dad came and his parents came from another country. You think his dad ever brought in $90,000 in a month? My dad worked at McDonald's while he paid for nursing school so then he can go work with the veterans at the VA hospital. Whatever it takes. You think our parents ever brought in $90,000 in a month? Oh, and guess what? It's only halfway through the month. I'm not trying to be cool. I'm letting you know we've worked our asses off. We got this hard work ethic from the people that loved us the most growing up, and now we ain't letting anybody down. Now it's time to set the freaking bar so high, work on ourselves so high. Our kids are going to know us as entrepreneurs, business owners. We are going to create the best opportunities possible for our children, just like our parents did for us. They set the stage. We are going to set the stage for our children and live the life that we deserve through real estate, everybody. We can show you exactly how to do this for yourself. You deserve it. You deserve it. This is the biggest thing. We're in a lot of personal development right now. I'm into this thing, this Project 369 stuff. You just got to have that deserving feeling. You got to know that you deserve it. If you listen to all the conditioning and programming from when you were brought up, like all of us in the schools and the churches and the authority people, they were just passing on their conditioning to you. And a lot of it was, I'm not enough. I don't deserve it. Money's the root of all evil. Rich people are bad. No. You start getting around us. You jump into one of our coaching programs, which we have 3. We have something for everybody. By the way, you start getting around this energy, you're going to be around it every single day. Not only are we going to help you generate leads, negotiate leads, close deals, just like within the first month, people are getting contracts and leads. This isn't like you sign up and, maybe someday down the line, you're going to figure this out. No, we're going to get you started instantly, immediately. And you can get started for as little as $97. Talk to Rula Divine. If you want the real deal coaching program, our flagship program is around 10 grand. There's no upsell from there though. There's no until you become really successful. If you wanted private business consulting and really getting things going, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Let's get you started in the flagship program. You just start getting leads, start showing up to these calls twice a week. We're on the phone with us. You're going to be around the right energy and start creating some abundance in your life. You deserve it. You don't have to wait years and years and years and make all these mistakes like RJ and I have. We've got it dialed in so good right now. Thank goodness. I mean, but we've made countless mistakes, hiring mistakes, marketing mistakes, loan mistakes, financing mistakes, underwriting mistakes, construction mistakes. We're still going through it. So we are an open book, and that's what is allowing our people to succeed really, really quickly. And you deserve it. That's what I wanted to share here, RJ.
Austin's got a good question. When I mentioned underwriting, um, yeah, it's just a fancy term of, is this lead a deal? How am I going to make money from this lead? And Zillow has a lot of useful data. It really does. A lot of it gets pulled from the MLS anyways. And so all over Ohio, we're making deals in Shelby, Ohio to like Marietta. I think that's like on the border of Ohio and West Virginia. It doesn't matter for us. Like we're all over Ohio and soon to be in some other markets. We get to scale that back a little bit. But we are fully going to be doing this on a nationwide scale, and not just the flipping business, because we really like our novation model. And if you guys don't know what novations are, basically you're wholesaling on the MLS. There's a lot of paperwork and, well, not a lot of paperwork, but there's paperwork involved and um, an explanation of how to do it to the motivated seller. But since we added that, we're 80% doing that now for the flipping side of the business, and we're still looking for opportunities to buy and hold. But our buy and hold is more so on portfolios or commercial deals. That's what we want to put into our portfolio. In the beginning, it's like one house with one house. Sometimes there's a really good house that we're going to try and just because I like those like brick ranches. But we had one recently where the taxes were just too high. But that's all we're doing here. Underwriting deals. This means is it a good deal for me to either flip, buy and hold? Sometimes there's an opportunity to take it subject to an existing mortgage, and we have that in our coaching program. We took a lot of properties like that before.
All I gotta say is this: if you're gonna like be around people who are really, if you want to learn from somebody, you got to learn from people who are doing it now. It's not like there's so many like meetups, RJ. There's so many webinars, and we're all meeting up. And what are we meeting about? What are we meeting about? Right? Meet with people who are in the game today, really, really doing this on a high level. And if they can't show you they're making at least 6 figures a month, I don't think they're qualified to teach. Right? What are you? I mean, okay, you've done a couple bought a couple properties, cool. That's great, right?
I'll take it
Consistent
even another step above that. It's somebody that hasn't even been in the cycles of
seeing
real
the
estate.
changes in the market, right? Seeing the cycles and changes and been doing this for a while, but most importantly, who's doing it today that owns properties today. Not, hey, I bought a couple properties. I'm do pretty good as a real estate agent. That's not what we're doing here. I don't know too many real estate agents that are consistently bringing in over 6 figures a month. If you want to bring in big money, you got to be on the flipping game, wholesaling, novations, and flipping. This is it. I mean, do you know any agents, RJ, that consistently bring in 6 figures a month in revenue? Very rare.
Well, they were in our program. They're lifelong members. This guy does really well. He
There
does
you
now.
go.
But here's the thing, like what I wanna make sure you guys get this, okay? Because um there's a lot of coaches out there, a lot of young coaches out there. These young coaches out there, and I'm saying young, they're in their 20s. but they've made most of their money in the boom of real estate. The boom of real estate, as y'all know, was like 2018 to 2020. They haven't seen a cycle like '05, '08, '09, the before pre-boom, and then now where the market is at, the rates are going well. Like a lot of these, like everyone that's out there that's doing it now, and I'm not like, okay, good, you've seen success, but how can you answer questions like, well, I'm in this type of uh situation and I need help, and they don't have that experience of like what Dave just mentioned, a loan going bad and having to, underwrite it creatively and come up with solutions. I Yeah, I'd be careful
Let's
and
open it. Oh, go ahead, RJ.
share our story because we just want to impress upon you that we've seen quite a lot in the many, many years that we've been doing this. So, and we're not anything special. We just implemented, failed many, many times. Like, and just happy to be able to have the wherewithal. And just so you guys know, like we still invest in mentors. Like I invested in a commercial underwriting course recently. You know,
Lifelong student. There's always something to learn. We're getting into bigger deals. We got a couple questions here. Johnny wants to know how long our program's for. You're in for life. For our flagship program, you are in for life. And we will do deals with you. We have a rock solid JV program, and we do deals with our clients. So let's go. There's nothing holding us back. Essentially, we have a team. How many do we got on our team? We got Shay, Casey, Daniela. We got 3 salespeople, dispositions assistant, and 2 other VAs. So we have a team of 9, and you essentially get to tap into that. When you're a client of ours on the coaching side of the business, we've already got a fully operating business. So you get out there, we're going to show you how to find deals. Bring it to us. We got over 8,000 buyers, and we're moving deals quickly. So you can keep your focus if that's what you want to do. You could do it yourself, just like one of our clients did. They found their own buyer. Perfect. You're going to make even more money. But we are wide open. You are in for life, Johnny. Evan Ruiz, recommend for a good contractor. Here's what you're going to learn in this business. You do this business long enough, contractors, it's pretty much a revolving door. It's a constantly moving target. But in our coaching program, you're going to learn how to create scopes of work, get lien waivers signed, get your paperwork and you get your agreements together, how to scope out jobs, how to not get ripped off. Because chances are the contractor door is going to be a revolving one, but you need to have your paperwork dialed in as a professional to protect yourself. And that's part of the coaching that you're going to learn. So you can do this for years to come. Evan's got a property for sale. Posted in the main group. Cheryl got a mentor. I feel like she was also one of those that made her money during the boom. She wasn't able to help me with the issues I'm facing now. Well, what issues are you facing now, Cheryl? Post it right here. We're going to help you right now. I did everything she instructed, and it isn't working. I started working with her in October 2023. Yeah. How many deals are they doing right now, Cheryl? What can they show their P&Ls right now? Do they know how much revenue they brought in this month, this day? Right? No, they made their money back in the day. Now they just want to sign up. I feel like she was also one of those that made her. So anyway, Cheryl, we're here to help you. We're here live right now. We only got a couple more minutes, but whatever issues you're having, part of our program, we're going to instruct you. The real money is made with the buy and hold business, with the cash out refinances, but that's a little bit slow of a role, slow of a business. It's get paid slow. We're going to help you get paid quickly, and it's going to come from wholesaling and novations. I've heard of other coaches out there. It is what it is, but they tell people not to wholesale. It's like, well, you got to keep the lights on. You got to keep oxygen in the business. Quick hits of cash It builds confidence in you as a
So
new.
I know exactly who you're talking about. I'm not going to mention their name because I'm not here to badmouth anybody. But if look, we show you how to wholesale to yourself. That's the PYF method. If you're looking to learn that, happy to go over that with you in our program. But at the end of the day, you're putting out marketing and you're not getting a return on dollars from that through wholesaling innovations. I don't know what you're doing. You can certainly buy from wholesalers and do that route. That is a strategy. You can do that if that's what you want to do. But want to make cash, you need to have a cash generating business because the buy and hold is a buy and hold, get rich and wealthy eventually. That's why we created the PYF method so that you can get some of that cash now so that you can keep the lights on and the marketing engine on. And, to do this at scale, you got to have people. How are you going to pay for staff if you're waiting until this 120 days later to pay your staff? No one's going to want to work for you. So, um, yeah, if there's a mentor telling you not to do that, then okay, well, how am I gonna pay the bills? How am I gonna pay the bills? That's why we created this PYF method. Ask us how we know, because we were starving real estate investors at one point. It doesn't have to be that way. There's a better way, and we're still doing this today.
We got a program for everybody. We are most excited to work with anybody, even if you already kind of got started, even if you already have a little knowledge under your belt. Perfect. Let's just get you tapped in. Hit up Rula. Rula Divine is in the chat right now. And we love this. When we first started this coaching thing, RJ and I personally was a bit nervous. I'm like, can we translate what we do day in and day out to other people? Well, I'm not nervous anymore because I see the results that it's creating. I love it. It's the best part of my day is working with our people. I would prefer that than, quite honestly, even working with our own deals. Because we all deal with the same headaches and challenges. RJ, anything else? Let's put a bow on this thing.
Yeah, I just want to see if there's any more questions. You guys have been kind of sitting there and listening to our story. If it connected with you, that's what this was for. Just to show you guys that we're not trust fund babies. That we didn't have like our dad to lend us any money at all. None of that happened. My first private lender came from my buyers list. That's a tip, by the way. You guys that out there, and you know, I wish I had a handout, but not really, man. Like that forces you to become resourceful, right? So, any questions? Thank
Dawn,
you.
you're
Okay.
welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome, Sean. Glad to see you in the community. Anybody have any questions? Burning desires? We're gonna wrap this up. It's been a great Wednesday live with y'all. Next week we're gonna be live again. If you have any requests of certain things that you want us to go live about, let us know. Certainly hit up Rula if any of this interests you and you want to take it to the next level. Whether it be getting your first deal, scaling your current business, what you currently have right now, learning innovations, learning our PYF method. Let us know. We're here. We're not going anywhere anytime soon.
We ain't going anywhere, everybody. It's always a pleasure. We will see you on next Wednesday. And feel free to ask us any questions in the group. We're in here every day. See you guys.
Yeah.